Sorry, because it was the only time that I have my break, and it's the time that I can do my...
3, 2...
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 66 of the Horsemen podcast, and it's the three-man gang. Well, it's going to be mostly a two-man gang this time, but it's myself, Ricky, and Arthur. Arthur for a cameo for the time being, because he's on his break from work. And yes, this week we are talking top 10 Gothic metal albums.
So, Arthur, I know you have a time allowed short, so if you please, go for it.
So, a bit of my honorable mentions. I have Tiamat's Wild Honey, Marilyn Manson's Mechanical Animals. I have an album from The Cure, which I honestly don't remember which one it is. And I also have Amorphous with Silent Waters. Which many people may say it's a bit more melodic death metal, which I totally agree. But if you listen to some songs like Silent Waters itself, Her Alone, you cannot say that they don't have any goth influence to it. Now for my list. At number 10, I have Tristanias Beyond the Veil, and some of the names that I'm going to mention here on my list, they borderline other genres, but it's pretty common, especially with goth, that has a little bit of influence, not just on black metal, with, spoiler alert, my number 6, and number 2 as well, and also a bit with symphonic metal as well, which is a good chunk of my list. So, number 10, Tristania's Beyond the Veil. Number 9, the Comalyze by Lacuna Coil, which I could have easily put here, their first album in a reverie, and I love Lacuna Coil very much, which is one of those bands that does that border influence of symphonic and goth. Number 8. Sorry about that. Train incoming. As I said, train incoming. Number 8, it's another one that has most similarities with goth and symphonic, and it's Within Temptation. And I've put The Heart of Everything. That's more goth to me. That's a more gothic album to me than it is Silent Force, which is regarded as one of their best. Number 7, and Ricky probably will kill me or say, what? Like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
What?
My Dying Bride's The Age of Orion.
The Ghost of Orion.
Sorry, The Ghost of Orion.
Yeah, I was like, what?
I mean, I wanted to put my Dying Bride because they do have some influences there, but I only thought of The Ghost of Orion, so that's a bit odd choice.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
My next odd choice, Cradle of Filth's Midian.
I do have Cradle of Filth, but not that album.
Although I could have easily put here Cruelty and the Beast as well. But I'm going to cheat. Number 6, Midian and Cruelty and the Beast. Since I'm going to cheat on number 2, so number 5, and this is a no-brainer for anyone that loves gothic metal. The Bloody Kisses by Typo Negative. R.I.P. Peter Steele. Although I don't know if October Rust could have been here as well.
It could have.
It could have easily.
But I think Bloody Kisses is more symbolic
more.
Number 4, another one of the borderline albums, Therion's Volvin, and this is a bit of an because it does have some gothic influences, and you cannot tell me that if you listen to the 3 main songs, which is automatically their first 3, Rise of Sodom and Gomorrah, the one of Aluka, and even a song that was part of wrestling in Mexico, Birth of Venus Illegitima, and Ricky knows what I'm talking about. you cannot tell me that you won't see or hear the Gothic influence into it, especially with Birth of Venus Illegitima.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, Night Wishes Once. I mean, they do have they have a little bit more of symphonic, but I mean, listen to Nemo, listen to the Siren, even listen to I Wish I Had an Angel, and you cannot tell me that they don't have any goth in it. Number 2, this is a bit of a no-brainer, and since you two already know me, you knew that I was going to put this band here, which is
Moonspell.
Of course. And I decided to cheat on 3 albums. Wolf Art, their very first, because they do have some early Gothic influences with Vampiria and an erotic alchemy, but they still have a little bit of folk as well. If you listen to White Agin or Lua d'Inverno, the Winter Moon, and still a lot of black metal with Alma Mater and many others.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, I do have your Religious, which is a bit more Gothic, especially if you listen to Mephisto. Especially if you listen to Mephisto or even Opium, and one of their latest, Night Eternal, a little bit because of their song Dreamless, Lucifer and Lilith, and more because of Night Eternal itself and Scorpion Flower, that duet with Anneke van Giersbergen. And number 1, I've put here Enchantment, but it's more of the song than it is the album. It's Draconian Times. I do have a personal history with this album, which I won't repeat it because it's been beaten to death, so to say. But that's my list. And Draconian Times, it is the kind of the gateway for Paradise Lost to go full on Gothic, which they went later on with Icon. Even later on.
Yeah.
And now
even
the one frozen.
we'll get him back hopefully for a bit, but I think he was gonna mention even the later My Dying Bride
the latest stuff.
Latest, like
the latest Paradise Lost,
Obsidian,
and Plague Within, and
Medusa.
Yeah.
Yep. So, it gets to show that that album is really influential. But hopefully we can get Archer back. Maybe. Gotta believe here.
Come back to me, damn it.
Come back. Keep on pretending. But
I guess while we wait, since we didn't get to, since we had to hurry up with Archer's list, now let's go more in depth about how we got into the music. For me, I mean, Gothic metal is still like one of those subgenres I still don't know too much about compared to others. But I do know more about the genre than, say, like folk. And
true.
Thank you, Mama Bear, for the "Hello, Darkness, my old friend."
Yeah, I just saw it in the
stream.
In the stream.
But yeah, like. And it's like people might wonder, well, what is Gothic metal? Where does it come from? Well, it's essentially, there's a few different places it comes from. Classic metal, Doom especially, Gothic rock,
classical
and early
music.
on, Death Doom a little bit, especially with the Peaceville 3.
But then we saw an Archer's list that we began to kind of get mixed hybrids borderline, because Gothic has gone into Death Doom, some black metal bands, some symphonic metal bands,
and even traditional Doom.
Even traditional Doom at times. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint who was the first Gothic, quote unquote, Gothic metal band.
Well, we'll get into that as
we'll get into that.
But as far as like who were the first Gothic metal bands I first heard, Well, Ricky's wearing the shirt of one of them, him. Primarily back when I was about 10, 11 years old and I saw the music video for Wings of a Butterfly on Fuse TV. Not even MTV, Fuse. And then after that, eventually I got into bands like Typo Negative and then eventually going back to like Paradise Lost and My Dying Bride. Evanescence, they were a big mainstream gateway. Same with Lacuna Coil in the mid to late 2000s. So yeah, there's quite a bit. And Mama Bear actually just said, "You're going to turn me into a gothic metal chick since I got the gothic look and painted my nails black again." Well, dye your hair black and then I want to date you. Too bad Ricky's frozen. He didn't catch that. Son of a gun. Son of my gun. Ricky. Wakey, wakey. Hands off your snaky bed. I love you too, Mama Beryl. See you later on. Ricky. Technical difficulties. Ricky. Ricky, 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 Ricky. I can't even go.
I keep on pretending. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, the one thing that we forgot to mention, the Gothic scene helped a lot too.
Yeah.
My God. I mean, but in terms of me getting to Gothic metal, I mean, I don't even remember how I got into Gothic metal, to be honest. Maybe I got more into Gothic metal when I discovered more Death Doom. Probably, but, I can't remember really the first bands. I mean, I can say maybe him, Typo Negative were the two Gothic metal bands that I got into the most. My Dying Bride kind of was the first of the Peaceful 3 I got into a lot, so that could be another one. But like we said, Gothic metal is one of those subgenres that goes borderline into so many other subgenres.
Yeah, and of course, especially for chicks. Oh, big titty goth chicks.
Every metalhead's wet dream.
Yes. So
some of them get it, some of them don't. But at least we try.
And of course, like when we speak lyrically about Gothic metal, it kind of varies a lot. Mostly, you can get into the romantic side, you can get into the depressing side, songs about death, drugs, kind of almost keeping on the lyrical themes of doom, but adding a little more lushness with the romantic stuff. But yeah, definitely dark. Definitely dark, no matter what. But with all that said, let's get into the honorable mentions. So I have 7 honorable mentions on my list. Starting off, we've got Anathema with the album Eternity.
Okay.
I decided to go with one of the middle era albums, considering like their first album was still very much a Death Doom album with occasional Gothic vocals, but again, not full bore Gothic metal. So
Eternity, probably one of. It's of course not that's not an Enigma. That's more, I guess, quote unquote, mellow Death Doom, or even sometimes I want to say alternative. But the Eternity for being Gothic, there's some Gothic moments. And funny enough, that album was released literally on my birthday. Like, the day I was fucking born. On a Monday. So, I was technically already born to Death Doom. Sorta.
Yeah. Next up, I got Agus by Theater of Tragedy.
I do have Theater of Tragedy on my list, but not that album.
Yeah. Next up, now, Ricky and I talked about this earlier when we were talking about bands that are too borderline to be included. I did include Within Temptation, however, I picked their only real Gothic album, and that's their first album, Enter. Because the mood on that album was so much more dark. And also, even a little Death Doom moments, because you got one of the guitarists doing death growls while Sharon Den Adel doing the rest of the vocals. It was really after this album, starting with their second album, they became too uplifting to be a Gothic band, and one of the pioneers of the Dutch symphonic metal scene.
Mm-hmm.
So this was really the only album, in my opinion, that would really fit here because of the atmosphere. Next up. Oh, I hate to do this to you, Ricky. I really hate to do this to you.
Go for it.
I'm just messing with you. I'm not going there. Next up, I got Lacuna, Coil, Comalyze.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to go for somewhere that borders, like early on their Gothic stuff, and then whenever they eventually got more mainstream and a little heavier, I wanted to go with the album that kind of was like the bridge between those two styles, the more lush, somber, melodic sound, and then where they would eventually go with being a heavier band. Comalyze was kind of like the perfect bridge between the two different eras, so I decided to go with Comalyze. Of course, for the big track, Heaven's a Lie, which is not an anti-religious song, it's more about the pop world, kind of like a song off of Evanescence's first album. Speaking of Evanescence, I don't have Fallen. I actually went with their second album, The Open Door. Because Fallen, while there's some Gothic elements, it feels more of like an alternative metal album to me.
Or even sometimes new metal.
Occasionally, yes, with the downtune, with the 7-string guitars. So I decided to go with The Open Door because, musically speaking, it moved completely away from that whole new metal, alternative metal sound and into more of a Gothic metal sound and even a little prog. Even gets proggy at times. But the big song on here that really captures the Gothic feel is Lithium. That is such a haunting, dark song. And of course, people could say what they want about the band, but Amy Lee's vocals, awesome.
I mean, my gosh, she's fucking beautiful.
Yes.
She's hot.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. So, yeah, there's that. Next up. Greatest Love Songs, Volume 666 by him.
Just go on.
I'll just leave it at that. I'll let you have the time to shine when you get to it.
I was waiting for the moment.
And then my last honorable mention, bit of an odd one. People forget about this band being involved in the Gothic metal history in the late 90s, early 2000s because they're most known as black metal or now melodic death metal. Rotting Christ, Triarchy of the Lost Lovers.
That is true.
People forget Rotting Christ was Gothic metal for a long time. Late 90s through the early 2000s. And this album, Triarchy of the Lost Lovers, you got two songs that really stand out as two of the best metal songs of the entire decade of the 90s, though I can't quite remember them off the top of my head. Oh, King of a Stellar War. That's got some dark Gothic melodies on top. But the real track, One with the Forest, with some of the best riffs of the 90s. And yeah, the whole vibe is dark, it's haunting. Not like their early output or even their most recent output where early on they were more on the more chaotic black metal side, and now they're kind of more blackened melodeath with a little bit of doom here and there. So, yeah, Triarchy of the Lost Lovers by Rotting Christ, my last one. All right, Ricky, your honorable mentions.
So I have 3 honorable mentions. The first one, Celtic Frost, Into the Pandemonium.
Ooh.
Now that one was kind of difficult to actually put
That's a
in
tricky
the
one.
That's a tricky one because at this time, this was before we had fucking I know I'm forgetting the name for good reasons, but I'm trying to remember the name just for historical reasons. Cold Lake. This was before Cold Lake.
Yeah.
So at the time, Celtic Frost was still, kind of evolving, but evolving more avant-garde, more symphonic metal, more classic metal, which, it's always been Celtic Frost, but...
And also the vocals. While the vocals are the dividing line on this album, I know my buddies over at Thralls hate the vocals on that album. I don't mind them. Yeah, they sound like he's having orgasms all the time, but it fits with the gothic exterior that they were going for.
Yeah. My other honorable mentions: Tree of Eternity, Hour of the Nightingale. I know it's kind of more Death Doom oriented,
atmospheric doom,
but I know, but that's why I had to put it in my honorable mentions, because it kind of borderlines gothic metal, so that's why I had to put it there. And my last honorable mention is The Foreshadowing, Deeps Up Nothing. I love that album, and you have no idea how I love that album, but it was so hard I had to put it in my honorable mentions, because a lot of people think The Foreshadowing is a really heavy band, but they're not really that heavy in terms of vocals. They're more progressive, more beautiful at times. That's why I had to put them in my honorable mentions, even though if you ever try to find this album on CD, good fucking luck. It's really hard to find it. It's like, I think the last time I saw it on eBay was like $50, which I ain't spending that much money on a CD, to be honest. But who never knows. But if you haven't listened to The Foreshadowing, Days of Nothing is their best album, in my opinion.
Alright, and now time for the top 10 on my end. Kicking things off at number 10 for me, I'm gonna go crazy on this, but when you listen to this album, you'll understand why I put it on this list. So, Ricky, you brought up one of my favorite bands of all time just a moment ago, with Celtic Frost. I also have Celtic Frost on here at number 10, but it's not Into the Pandemonium. It is Monotheist. Now, this album is another one of those border albums. It borders Death Doom, it borders avant-garde, and it borders Gothic. But I feel like the Gothic atmosphere that's on top of so many tracks, in particular, Drown in Ashes and Obscured, those songs are some of the most haunting songs Celtic Frost ever did. Yeah, it's super fucking heavy. That guitar tone achieved on this album with tracks like... And even the song A Dying God Coming into Human Flesh is very gothic. And yeah, you get really heavy tracks like Progeny, Ground, Oz, Abysme Vel Dath, Domain of Decay, the Triptych series, especially Synagoga Satanae. But the gothic vibe that's plastered on top, this could have felt like something Paradise Lost would have done in their first few albums. But they slowed it down and they really went full tilt dark on this album. And it was because of the success of this album why we got Tom Warrior's new band Triptykon, which basically continues on the sound of this album. And I could have put a Triptykon album on my list and it would have fit perfect. But yeah, Monotheist, absolute dark gothic masterpiece of 2006, or even a Death Doom masterpiece. Excuse me. Moving on to number 9. Arthur had it in his honorable mentions. Tiamat, Wild Honey. Tiamat's a forgotten band in the whole gothic metal scene, because when they started, they were more of a death metal band. Like, hell, their first album recorded at the same time as Entombed Left Hand Path out of Sunlight Studios and released around the same time. And they were very similar, though Tiamat had a bit of a black metal atmosphere on top of their death metal on the first album. Then they kind of went a bit Death Doom on the following albums. Then we get to 1994 with Wild Honey. Basically all the death metal elements were gone by this point. More doomy and gothic.
Yeah.
And yeah,
it's kind of like amorphous. The first two albums were Death Doom. After that, it went more, not with the much growls, more clean vocals to what we have right now with
folky prog.
Mm-hmm. Which is not a bad thing. I mean, the thing about Gothic Doom is that a lot of bands either started in Gothic Doom but evolved into something else, or they
started
evolved
somewhere
into
else and then evolved into
metal.
Gothic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the case with my next band at number 8, Discouraged Ones by Catatonia. So, kind of the same thing with Tiamat, where Tiamat started off as death metal with a black metal vibe, and then Death Doom, then they became a gothic metal band. Catatonia, kind of the same thing, starting off as Death Doom with some black metal on top on the first 2 albums, Dance of December Souls and Brave Murder Day. And this is their third album, so this came out in like 98, I believe.
97, 98.
97, 98. And they basically, all the death metal and black metal was gone, and this was more doom-laden, more gothic, depressing. And also, Jonas Rinsk really finding his own in terms of his clean vocals, where he done the growls on the first album, and then the cleans on Brave Murder Day, while Michael Ockerfeld did the growls. This was when he really became his own in terms of a singer. And even still throughout the rest of their discography, still maintaining his voice. And still can growl just as well as like a Dan Swano or a Michael Ockerfeld out of the Swedish scene.
He just rarely does. The only one he's like, okay, I need to do this.
Yeah. And it's hard to believe he was actually the drummer on the first album, too. And is a damn good drummer, too. Number 7. This was the final album 10 years ago from a Canadian band, and that is Woods of Ypres with the album Woods 5, Grey Skies, and Electric Light.
Oh, God. I didn't put Woods of Ypres. I consider them more, again, we're talking about the borderline, because they're more doomy, to be honest with me. But again, it's like we're going to be mentioning a lot. The borderline is there. So, this is one of those subgenres that there's no right or wrong answer at times, to be honest.
Yeah. But I went with Woods of Ypres because they kind of were like the Canadian version of Typo Negative, but with a little bit of the black metal from their early days still there. Like you get on this album a few of the black metal shrieks that David Gold, may he rest in peace, did. And it's hard to believe this album came out a year after David Gold passed away in that car accident. Which makes this album even more sad to listen to, especially the song Kiss My Ashes Goodbye, which we talked about that song on the top 10 saddest metal songs of all time. Especially now, given the context of David's death and the lyrics of this track. My God. But of course, other great songs on here, like Lightning and Snow, for example. That has like a little bit of a gallop to it, which is really interesting to hear. Oh, Ricky froze again. Ricky, there you are.
Yep. Yeah, don't worry.
So I was saying, like, especially the song that puts this on the list, "Kiss My Ashes Goodbye."
Yeah, or Finality.
One of the best gothic metal songs of all time, and David Gold's voice. He was able to try and match the low deepness of a Peter Steele on this album. So,
because he passed away before Peter Steele passed away, if I remember.
No, he passed a year after Peter passed.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Peter passed in 2010, David passed in 2011. But yeah, just given the timeline and everything we knew about with David's car accident, that made that song feel even more sad, especially when you read the lyrics. Number 6, again, another one of those borderline bands. These guys border symphonic, black metal, and death metal. Cradle of Filth, Cruelty and the Beast.
It's on my list.
I mean, Cruelty and the Beast, and granted, I said I've never been the biggest Cradle of Filth fan, only for the reason that when Danny Filth does those high baby squeals, it's too much. I wish he would quit doing those. If he's going to do high vocals, do the King Diamond falsetto, or do the standard black metal shriek and the death growls like he does. I hate the baby squeals. It's too much. But musically speaking, Cradle is an amazing band. And this album, in terms of everything they did before and what they would do after, this was the perfect amalgamation of everything Cradle of Filth has ever done and ever will do. You know, because when you look at like the first album, it was more of a straight up black metal album with some gothic overtones.
Yeah.
Then you get into
Good
Dusk
Riddance.
and Her Embrace.
Dusk
and Her Embrace, and that was when it really started the shift.
Yeah. That album could have been another contender for this list, to be honest.
Yeah, and then you get to Cruelty and the Beast, and even Midian could have been on here as well. But Cruelty and the Beast is like the Cradle album, I would say.
Yeah.
Number 5. Now we're into the top 5. To make Arthur proud, I got Moonspell, and I went with Wolfheart, their first album. Granted, yeah, it borders a little bit on folk and black metal, but the gothic atmosphere and the style is there. Vampira, that's a classic song. And you have Moonspell being the big Portugal band to make them even more how they stand out from so many other bands during the 90s because of the fact they came out of Portugal, which Portugal now has a bunch of bands, but at this point, not a whole lot in the early to mid.
I mean, they did have some bands, mostly underground, but I mean, Moonspell, the biggest one of them all.
Yeah. Number 4, the only female-fronted band I have on my list, Mandolin by The Gathering.
Yeah.
Because it's like early on, kind of a similar situation with a couple other bands, starting out more death doom with some female vocals. Then you get to Mandolin, which is 1995, and Annick von Giersbergen, who in my opinion is maybe the best female metal vocalist of all time, because she can do everything and anything. Frequent Devin Townsend collaborators. She's been a part of like some Napalm Death tracks, which is strange. But she knows how to belt it out and sound operatic and sound dark. And a lot of the songs on this album, I can't remember them off the top of my head. To Metallum I go, because I never take notes for a lot of these things. Mandolin, yeah, it was their third album, but yeah, tracks like Strange Machines, Eleanor, In Motion #1. Those beautiful vocal melodies from Annick, just, it's like, oh, damn it, my nipples!
Easy there, South Park. Easy there.
But yeah, Mandolin by The Gathering at number 4. Now the top 3 should be self-explanatory as far as who the bands are in the top 3, because these were the 3 real pioneers of the genre. Coming in at number 3, Turn Loose the Swans by My Dying Bride.
Well, that's a tough one. Because I consider that album more death doom.
Well, it's like you get, like, the funny thing, it's like with My Dying Bride, first album, As the Flower Withers, atmospheric death doom, no doubt. This album, yeah, it still retains their death doom style of the first album, but you could already hear the gothic atmosphere coming in.
Yeah.
Especially, oh, geez. I swear, I am the worst with trying to keep up with the fucking shit here. What the hell was the name of that song? I swear I'm gonna kick myself in the teeth. The Songless Bird. Duh. That song was really the epitome of both sides of their sound. The death doom and the gothic side. You get the cool, like, symphonic keyboard build up, and then into some heavy riffs and brutal growls. But just musically, it's another borderline album. It borders Gothic and Death Doom. I would say it's about 50-50, I would say.
Yeah.
It's really after this when they became more Gothic with elements of Death Doom. Here, this was more like the merge of the two subgenres. So, but yeah, that's my number 3. My number 2, Paradise Lost, Draconian Times. Again, another one of those bands. First 2 albums, straight up pure heavy Death Doom,
Gothic.
similar to Autopsy at the time, like the slower Autopsy songs.
Yeah,
and then you get
but
to
but the difference.
Ricky, you froze again. Ricky. I guess I'll just go ahead and say my piece before Ricky comes back, and that's with the first 2 albums, more just straight up traditional heavy Death Doom. Like I said, more in the vein of Autopsy at the time. Then you get to Shades of God, where they still have a little bit of that Death Doom sound, but going definitely more into the Gothic terrain by that 3rd album. But then you get to Icon, which was in 93. Pretty much the Death Doom elements or the death metal elements were pretty much gone by that point. And that really signaled where they was going to go next. And then you get to Draconian Times, which was 95.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, they really found something here. And I love Nick Holmes's clean vocals, like his snarly cleans, because they, to me, sounded like James Hetfield from Metallica. He was like the British James Hetfield when it came to the snarly cleans. But when he was able to do the low vocals, bit of a kinship to someone like a Dan Swano. Not as deep as Peter Steele, but more towards Dan Swano. But his snarly cleans is really what stood out to kind of give the songs more impact and emotion. Especially on songs... I should remember these songs off the top of my head.
Hollowland.
Yeah, and also... But there was... Hollowed Land, Forever Failure, Hands
Enchantment.
of Reason, Enchantment. Yeah. And this is one I need to get in the collection at some point. And I see, is that the... Yeah, that's the media book.
Yep, 25th anniversary edition.
Yeah, since Peaceville loves to do the thick media books. I mean, looking for my Dark Throne albums or media books. But now, leaves us with number 1. To me, when it comes to Gothic metal, there's no one better than Typo Negative. But the question, which album? Because Typo Negative is the true pioneer of Gothic metal. Granted, first 2 albums, still keeping a little bit of that hardcore thrashiness from Carnivore, but with the more Black Sabbath swagger and atmosphere, especially on the first album, Slow, Deep, and Hard, and then Origin of the Feces, one of the funniest albums ever. So this is where Gothic metal can get a little humorous. Gothic metal can have some humor in it, and Typo Negative was the masters of adding humor to the more monotonous, depressing sound. Yeah, like Origin of the Feces was a fake live album, and it was brilliant, booing at themselves, which is wonderful. But I was torn between 3 albums. I could have went with Bloody Kisses, considering that's the breakthrough. Because, you know, the big 3 tracks, Black Number 1, Christian Woman, and their cover of Summer Breeze. Though, there was still a little bit of that hardcore thrash influence still on there, especially on songs like We Hate Everyone and Kill All the White People, which, no. But you could tell they were just goofing off with that.
Yeah.
Or even getting into the proper Gothic stuff, like the title track. I could have went with October Rust, even though that was definitely pushing more on the romantic side. Hell, Mama Bear in the chat says she loves the romantic side, and she has this album because she won the giveaway for the stuff I did a while back. Yeah, that was definitely more on the ballad romantic side of Gothic metal. Tracks like Love You to Death, and especially Be My Druidess, probably the best sex song ever. It's just, and whenever I hear Peter croon that line, I'll do anything to make you come, it's like, ooh, it gets me hard every time.
Oh, God.
No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But I will say, if I do find me a woman and we make love, that song's gonna play.
You never know first. Maybe she wants something else, something more extreme.
But anyways, and then of course songs like In Praise of Bacchus, which is one of the greatest gothic metal songs ever. And then of course, My Girlfriend's Girlfriend, that song, the music video was like Skinamax when you were 13. Especially that line, in our meat triangle, balls jangle. Wow. Peter, you were one lucky man, I swear. One of my idols for being a dude. So while that was that, I decided to go with their heaviest. Oh, hang on. I'll wait. The frozen face of Ricky, it's like, that's his seductive face. Like, hey ladies, you want me tonight? He's probably gonna see us and think, damn it, Levi, what have you done? I'm just waiting for it. I'm just waiting for Ricky's reaction to what I just said. Because I know he's still watching stream to see what's going on.
I know. I've seen the live stream. I know. I know.
It was just the perfect face to get frozen on.
I don't know. But anyway, go on.
But anyways, so while those two albums, you could make the case, I am going to go with their heaviest, darkest, most depressing album Typo ever did, World Coming Down. Because while Bloody Kisses really started getting more into the gothic side, while the first two albums still has that, and then October Rust being more on the romantic side, when it comes to what gothic metal truly is about, darkness, death, depression, this is the Typo album that really hits that note very well. Like, and especially out of all 7 of Typo's albums, this one was the most brutally honest one. Especially given the context of the themes going on here. Because this was a time where life was shit for Peter. Like, family members were getting sick, other family members were passing away, developing a bad cocaine and alcohol addiction at this time. But this album, like, oh my god. Songs like Everyone I Love Is Dead, that's a gothic funeral anthem. So depressing. Who Will Save the Sane, basically all about his current mental health status. White Slavery, which was about his cocaine addiction. The title track, World Coming Down, one of their longer tracks, it's like 11 minutes, basically describing all about wanting to bring his life down to the ground. And it's one of the heaviest songs they ever did, too. Everything Dies, all about family passing. And then there are 3 soundscape tracks, Liver, Sinus, and Lung, which was all about a soundscape track of, like, him destroying that part of his body with drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes. And Peter even described it as, like, each of the members' individual addictions. Like, someone was addicted to cocaine, someone was addicted to alcohol, and someone was a smoking addict. And the saddest, darkest one was Lung, the smoking soundscape, because it's like you hear him smoking and then going, ah! And then in the hospital, dead, wife crying. But of course, the thing that does stand out about this album, their Beatles medley at the end, with Day Tripper and If I Needed Someone, She's So Heavy. And like Ryan from Thralls of Metal said, if Peter was still alive, it would have been amazing if Typo did an entire Beatles and Black Sabbath cover album
Oh yeah.
That would have been amazing, and especially in the Day Tripper medley when he and Kenny do the harmonies, heavy, heavy. Get the damn it. But yeah, especially given the context with the themes and the timeline, I think when it comes to the best Gothic metal album in terms of what Gothic metal truly is about, darkness and death, this is the Typo album that does it the most. And that's my number one. We miss you, Peter. Ricky, your turn.
Yeah. My number 10, and you mentioned in your honorable mentions, Evanescence, Fallen. Who the hell did not listen to this album in the 2000s? If anyone has ever seen the movie Daredevil, Bring Me to Life, my God, that song was all over the movie.
And Ricky froze again. Ricky froze again. We are awaiting for him to alive again. Ah. Ricky boy. Yep, you're a Ricky. I'm just going SpongeBob right now until he gets back. Ricky.
But, like I said, one of the best of the early 2000s and all that. Number 9, Cradle of Filth, Cruelty and the Beast. I saw Cradle of Filth live, and put one of the best shows they ever did, and one of their songs that they opened was Passio Raya. And my God, I mean, an album dedicated to Countess Bathory, the one and only Countess Bathory. To me, that's like next level shit, but my God, symphonic, Gothic, beautiful, romanticizing the story of this evil empress that, was a reign of terror, but, it's still one of the best Cradle albums out there. I could have gone with Midland or even their second album, but to me, this is the bare standard for Cradle of Filth. Number 8, and Archer mentioned it, Therion, Volvin. I put this album because to me, yes, it borders symphonic metal, but me watching AAA, I mean, when the La Secta came out to the Birds of Illusions, my God, to me that was like Gothic metal at its finest, and just the atmosphere that this album gives you is just, to me, pure Gothicness. Number 7, this is the one album that I honestly thought Archer was going to have, but unfortunately it didn't. Opera 9, The Black Opera. Again, another borderline album.
Symphonic
another
black.
border. Yes, more black metal, but, listening to this album, it later got in popularity as one of their best album to date, but at the time, it was this weird hybrid of black, dead, symphonic, even at times folky, but to me, this is probably one of the best Opera 9 albums to date. At number 6, I had to add Moonspell. If I didn't have Moonspell, Archer was gonna send the fucking Portuguese army after me. And of course, I went with Wolfheart. Their debut, which it is one of their best. I could have gone with 1755, which, that was an amazing album. I could have gone also with what's the other Moonspell album that I like?
You're Religious.
No, it's one of the 2000s ones. I know I have it here on my iTunes, so let me just go to my iTunes. The Antidote. That's another one I could have gone, that's probably my favorite song. Everything Invaded from them, but it's still a badass album. Black at times, but I mean, it's Moonspell, the biggest band out of Portugal, who later inspire bands like, Ashes of Life, or even an underground death doom band like Desire. But it's Moonspell. We had to add Moonspell. At number 5, Theater of Tragedy, Velvet Darkness, and They Fear. I mean, if you look at that album cover, them titties. But I was listening to this album last night, and yes, I know, again, more borderline, more symphonic, but has more gothic elements. The growls in this album, the keyboards, and that, to me, that's quintessential gothicness, in my opinion. Now we're up to the top 4. At number 4, and Archer has mentioned this album so many times, Draconian Times, Paradise Lost. So, at this time, Paradise Lost was going to a different kind of phase at their moment in life. The first 2 albums, Pure On, Death Doom, they had more of a, beautiness in Gothic. The third album was kind of a mixed bag, but when Draconian Times hit, it kind of brought a lot of fans into the band. And it took them a while for this album to be the mega monster it became, to the point that Archer has mentioned this album helped him through some tough times. And, we have songs like On Hollow Land, Enchantment, Years of Change, Shades of God. My God, they're fucking amazing songs. At number 3, My Dying Bride. Now, I could have gone with Turn Loose the Swans, but I went with the one album that really, really went more gothic metal. Like Gods of the Sun. Now, like Gods of the Sun was my favorite My Dying Bride album for the longest time. And the reason I put this on the list is because during this time, Aaron kind of left the growl vocals and became more clean vocals. And this was in October 96, so this was at the peak, one of the peaks of gothic metal at the time. So this brought in a lot of fans to My Dying Bride. We have songs like the title track, A Kiss to Remember, For You, my God, that monstrous ballad, For My Fallen Angel, how they end the album with Aaron singing, the violin, the atmosphere. It's so sad yet beautiful. Again, more romanticized in the gothic metal, which I do like myself more the romanticized side of gothic metal. But I can appreciate more of the heaviness or even goofiness of gothic metal. But, to me, this is probably the one of their best in their entire discography, and the one gothic metal album that, for me, it's My Dying Bride. I could have gone with something from, can't remember the name of the album. At the End of the World, that one. That was another great album, but nevertheless. Top 2. Now, this was really hard. I could have gone with either or. I love both these albums to death, no pun intended, but I had to go with my number 1, and it's my gut. So number 2, Bloody Kisses. Like you mentioned before, Peter Steele, my God. We forgot to mention Peter Steele was one of the sex appeals of the 90s. I mean, for him to be on Murray, on Jerry Springer. He even did a portrait on...
I'm not here to have a good time. I'm here to pay my phone bill. So have you actually slept with all these women? I'm going to have to take the Fifth Amendment on that one.
Mm-hmm. Even at one time, I think it was in Playgirl, which...
Oh, Peter, what are we supposed to do, Peter? I hate to tell you, Peter. I hate to tell you, Peter, but Playgirl's demographic isn't girls. And he wrote a song about that on Life Is Kill Me called I Like Goils.
Which that I think I found that by mistake. I don't know why, but anyway, I mean, from the album cover, when it was by mistake, but the album cover when you have 2 lesbian-esque girls, which I do like the alternative a bit better because they're actually kissing, which it's kind of more gothic. But when you go to the nitty-gritty, songs like Summer Breeze, the title track. I mean, Christian Woman, my God, Christian
Black
Woman.
number 1, probably the best gothic metal song of all time.
I bet you the amount of people who have fucked Typo Negative is tremendously cute, especially the song of that Christian Woman. I mean, my God, especially if you're a Christian, my God.
You have no idea what you just said. You have no idea what you just said about
I
Very good. If only we were that huge.
Trust me, if only we were. But we're not. Maybe we are. We don't know.
Yeah. To some women, they might think we are huge. Others will probably hate us for it. Oh well, but they're not real women anyways.
But come on, but anyways, God read your soul, Peter Steele.
Yeah.
You fucking crazy goof bastard. Number one,
redneck Dracula. Let's go to a bar.
Number one, and this is the obvious choice. I mean, of course, I'm wearing the shirt, and I could have gone with so many hymn albums. I could have gone with Razorblade Romance. I could have gone with Deep Shadows. I could have gone with Love Metal. I even could have gone with Dark Light. But I went with the album that got me into him and, kind of saved me for a while, though. Greatest Love Songs, Volume 666. Ville Valo at the time was another sex appeal because next to Peter Steele, I think Ville Valo was there in terms of sex appeal and Gothic metal. But the thing about the album is the whole 666 thing. I mean, when you have album that has 66 tracks, hidden tracks, to 66 in RAM. So at the time, the people in Finland thought they were like a satanic band, which it's kind of stupid to the point that black metal people didn't like him, and the Christians didn't like him, or even the Gothics didn't like him. So him was just kind of this weird
polarizing
thing in the
band.
90s. It was like a rising band, which, a lot of people shit to this day, which I don't know why people shit on it. I love him, but to me, this is probably their best album to date when you have songs like Your Sweet 66, Wicked Games.
When Love and Death
Don't
Embrace.
Yes, that song to me. When Love and Death Embrace. So Do Me, Gothic, sad, beautiful. To me, that's my favorite hymn song of all time. To even the Don't Fear the Reaper cover from Blue Oyster Cult. My God, they made it their own, especially the female vocals. Even a song like For You intro, which to this day I still say that should have been in the Crow movie because it fits so well. But then again, to me, him, Great Love Songs, Volume 666, the best Gothic metal album of all time.
And I forgot to mention how I first heard of the band Him was through Ville always being with the Jackass crew on Jackass and
Bam
Viva La
Bam.
Bam. Yeah, Viva La Bam especially. Like, they did the whole episode where they're traveling Europe to find Chris Rab's fucking mail order bride, and they're traveling with Ville. And then they make it back in time to be at Him's show, which I thought was pretty funny. But now time to construct the actual top 10. I think safe to say top 3, Typo, Paradise Lost, and My Dying Bride.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question is, so Paradise, it's easy, it's Draconian Times.
Draconian Times.
Now My Dying Bride.
Draconian Times.
Now for My Dying Bride, I mean, I could go for anything for them. I only went with Turn Loose the Swans just because it was like the signaling of their Gothic sound.
I mean, like Gods of the Sun was already Gothic core at the point. Like I said, but you seem to sound like For You, that's Gothic and a Gothic anthem.
Yeah.
So you want to go for like Gods of the Sun?
Sure, why not? And now for Typo, I mean, like I said, you could make a case for all 3, Bloody Kisses, October Rust, and World Coming Down. I'll go with Bloody Kisses since you and Arthur had it. I went with World Coming Down just because it was their more pure, dark, heavy Gothic album, given the concept.
Right.
But I'll go with Bloody Kisses.
We have our top 3 right now. Typo, My Dying Bride, and Paradise Lost. Now...
Moonspell would be Moonspell. Wolfheart would be in there.
Moonspell. Wolfheart,
and Cradle, Filth, Cruelty, and the Beast would be
Cradle, Filth, Cruelty.
Yeah, now the rest of them, because we got a lot of like different ones here.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I will say, throw me a bone. Give me him at least in the top 10.
I'll throw you a bone.
And greatest love songs.
So
we got right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 10.
And to throw a bone for Arthur, I'd say we put Tiamat on there. Wild
Honey. Yeah, let's go with Tiamat. What was the album? I always forget.
Wild Honey.
Wild Honey. Yeah, Wild Honey was kind of doomy. So we have 7 out of the 10.
Okay, now
let me see what else Arthur had in the list. He had, Therion, which again, I don't know. No,
I can't. I just can't. I can't. To me, Therion, it's too uplifting. It's too uplifting and symphonic to be here. That's the only problem.
Would you want to put Evanescence?
Well, Evanescence, maybe not in the top 10. For sure, an honorable mention, but I don't think they could go top 10.
Yeah, because we can't ignore Evanescence. I mean, it's like 2000s. Everyone who goes to 2000s, that was like a big album.
And even Aaron from My Dying Bride thought like what they were doing was something similar to what My Dying Bride was doing, but in the mainstream sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it'd be weird, but I would love to have Celtic Frost in there.
Into the Pandemonium?
I still think Monotheist is more fitting because of the atmosphere. Whereas Into the Pandemonium had so much other stuff going on, like the avant-garde stuff, classic metal, even a bit thrashy. Whereas Monotheist was more slow, dark, and heavy.
Yeah, I'll throw you a bone.
So
Monotheist.
So
we need 2 more. Let's see what else did I have on my list. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're not gonna have Opera 9.
No.
Theater of Tragedy.
I was thinking between either Theater of Tragedy or The Gathering should be in there.
I mean, we got 2 slots left. Unless there's something we're not mentioning.
Oh, Lacuna Coil Comalyze, number 10.
Yeah,
Lacuna Comalyze at number 10. Now, it's between The Gathering or Theater of Tragedy for the last one.
I mean, do you want to put it to a poll? Or you want to do the old-fashioned way? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Best of 3?
Best of 3.
I'm going for The Gathering. You're going for
Theater of Pain. Theater of Tragedy, alright?
Alright. 1, 2, 3, shoot.
3, shoot.
It's kind of delayed because of... You know what? Actually, let's not... Hang on. Undo that. Mm-hmm. Let's close our eyes, and then we open our eyes and we see... Because the delay, it will be too obvious. Alright, so close our eyes. Best of 3. 1, 2, 3, shoot. Rock beats scissors.
Yep.
Okay,
all right, that's
so that's
1
to nothing. 1, 2, 3, shoot. Paper covers rock. Clean sweep.
All right.
So The Gathering, Mandolin.
The Gathering.
Mandolin.
Now the order.
I think Typo goes number 1.
Typo number
Paradise
1 for sure.
Lost number 2. My Dying Bride 3. Moonspell 4. Cradle 5.
3. My Dying Bride. 4. Moonspell.
5. Cradle of Filth.
5. Cradle of Filth. 6. Monotheist. Oh, actually, give it to him. Give it to him. 6.
Give it to him. Yes. 7. I would give that to Tiamat. 8. Celtic Frost. 9. The Gathering. 10. Lacuna Coil.
8. Celtic Frost. 9. The Gathering. And 10. Lacuna Coil. Yeah, that will do it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the final top 10 for the Horsemen podcast, top 10 Gothic metal albums. At number 10, we have Lacuna Coil's Comalyze. Number 9, The Gathering, Mandolin. Number 8, Celtic Frost, Monotheist. Number 7, Tiamat, Wild Honey. Number 6, Hymn, Greatest Love Songs, Volume 666. Number 5, Cradle of Filth, Cruelty and the Beast. Number 4, Moonspell, Wolfheart. Number 3, My Dying Bride, Turn Loose the Swans.
Like Gods of the Sun.
Gods of the Sun. Bleh. Number 2, Paradise Lost Draconian Times. And number 1, Typo Negative, Bloody Kisses.
Bloody Kisses. Whew! I mean, like we mentioned before, this was a really not as hard as when we did punk or grindcore, because it's kind of a I guess mixed bag,
a bigger genre, and it's got a lot of different mixtures. You know, because like Celtic Frost on that album was like Death Doom, avant-garde, and Gothic. Typo Negative having like the Bloody Kisses having the Doom, but also a little bit of the hardcore thrash vibe at times.
I just noticed something. We're in episode 66. Hymns number 6.
I know.
6.
The power of Christ compels you.
The power of Satan. Jesus compels you. If anyone gets that reference, I'll love you forever.
Oh, or the power of Christ compels you. Oh, does it? Does the power of Christ compel a BJ? Because guess what? It's not that compelling. Anybody gets that reference, I will give you a cookie.
Yeah, but again, this was a really fun episode, and
it was.
You know, like I said, having Archer back for a bit, you know, hopefully we can get the whole gang back at some point. You know, hopefully,
especially considering the next episode that might be coming up. Considering I'm in talks, possibly the next episode we'll have James McBain from Hellripper back. And it'll be the top 10 first wave / proto black metal albums, since that's kind of his wheelhouse a little bit, that early stuff. Now, the question, now people might wonder, what do you mean by first wave or proto black? What's the cutoff? I would say from 81 to 91. Like right before the Norwegian scene kicked off in 92.
So, you know, sorry for Mayhem, sorry for Dark Throne, sorry Burzum.
Pretty much all the Norwegian bands.
Yeah. I mean, we dedicate an entire episode to Norwegian black metal. That's enough.
Exactly. Let's talk about the early days of black metal and what was proto-black. Yeah.
I mean, we could go back probably with the rest of the Norwegian scene, but in terms of like the albums, because I think we talked about it briefly in the Norwegian metal episode. Again, I mean, we're always still looking for ideas. We have a shitload of ideas because I know we're gonna do
still the possibility of the Jeremy Wagner interview.
Yeah, at some point, I know we're gonna do Death Doom at one point because we were talking about what other subgenres we haven't tackled yet.
Yeah,
and there's still a lot,
and a lot of top 10 band songs for
the songs. Bands. We haven't done. We need to do an album retrospective again, like Into the Nightside Eclipse. Because that's another big album that we all love. Or we can do a rank them all, which we don't know which one to do. Because Sabbath was the easiest one. I mean, sort of easy one to do. Yeah. First one, but if we go to like Maiden and Priest, it gets more bloody, more difficult to do because it's Maiden and Priest, you know.
Yeah.
So. There's a lot of things that we're still going to do, a lot of things we're going to bring you guys. Yeah, even though it takes us a while because of scheduling and all that, we're still trying to give you guys something because we're still love doing this. Like, you have no idea. Even everybody else, they love doing it, but again, life's a bitch. So, you know.
Teaching or cooking.
Yeah. Like I said, but we're still in contact with each other. We're still bonded by blood. I mean, my God. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's all in the future for the show. But for now, thank you guys who tuned in to the episode today. Yeah, this was interesting to say the least, considering, like I was talking about earlier, that Gothic metal, as much as I do know a bit about the genre, still not super familiar with everything. But definitely as a result of this episode, it definitely helped me appreciate it a little bit more, given all the bands that have come out in the genre that have really pushed it forward in their own individual ways, or kind of bringing the Gothic aesthetic to other styles of metal. So there is that for you. But yeah, with all that said, that's gonna do it for this episode. We'll
Yes.
see you in the next one, which I'm hoping we get James back for it, and that's gonna be sweet. But until then, horns high, and we'll see you soon.